banana bread in the bread machine. If you have ever tried to make banana bread in the bread machine and failed, I am here to tell you how to prevent all of that from happening. Hello friends, and welcome to Butterfly Meadows Homestead. I'm Dorinda. I have been on a journey, a banana bread journey. Well, the recipe is in the description, but you're going to want to know all of these little tips if you want to be successful in making your banana bread. Now, I have watched tons of videos. I have read tons of banana bread recipes. My biggest problem was when I would make a loaf of banana bread in the bread machine, it would come out all sunken in on top, or it might look good when it finished, but then it would sink on top, and when you cut into it, it would be gooey and underbaked on the top in the middle, or maybe the sides got too brown, and it was so frustrating. But what I found was people put information out there on the internet that is just not that great, and I just want to put a little plug in here for my channel. Anytime I show you how to do something on my channel, whether it be making bread or a recipe or whatever, I have done that thing many times, and I know that it works. A lot of the videos that I watched, it would be the first time that person had ever made banana bread in their bread machine, and sometimes I'm pretty sure they were not honest with the outcome. I'm not calling anybody a liar, but I'm pretty sure some of those videos were edited to show something that really didn't happen. And some of them showed their outcomes, which were kind of pathetic, but they thought it was pretty good. But banana bread is unique. It's not bread and it's not cake. It's kind of like cake. More technically, it's cake, but we call it banana bread, banana loaf. But it should have a moist texture. It should be slightly dense, but not underbaked. It should be a sweet, shouldn't be dry, it should be moist. Did you know that banana bread pretty much came about during the Depression era? Apparently bananas became very popular in the US during that time, and people did not want to waste food. Banana bread was a way to use those bananas that had just gotten too ripe to eat. Now I have some bananas here. These bananas, they're a little speckled. Now these are what I would call just right for eating. They're not green and they're not overripe. These bananas are green. They're just too green to eat. Neither of these would make really good banana bread. You need an overripe banana. You need a banana that is starting to turn brown on the outside. That's the kind of banana you want to use to make your banana bread. Well, if your family is anything like mine, my husband absolutely loves bananas. He does not like ripe bananas. Now, he would probably eat this one, but he likes them a little on the green side. Now, this is a little too green, and he would eat these, but he could stand them just, if they have a little green on them. But when they get ripe, like I think is just right, he doesn't want them. He says they're too ripe. We buy a lot of bananas because every time we go to the grocery store, he wants to buy bananas. Well, the bananas all get ripe at the same time, but inevitably I end up with overripe bananas. So what I end up doing is I will peel them and put them in the freezer. So here I have 2 frozen bananas. And I don't like to waste, but I'm telling you, my chickens got a lot of banana bread during this time. It wasn't good because the banana bread was either overbaked and too dry, or it was underbaked and not done in the center. So many problems. And I made banana bread using oil. I made banana bread using shortening. I made banana bread using butter. I made banana bread using frozen bananas. I made banana bread using fresh bananas. I made a small loaf of banana bread. I made a big loaf of banana bread. I tried all different kinds of recipes and ingredients. Fail, fail. I mean, it was terrible. At one point I thought, what am I doing? I should just give up. But I'm the kind of person, when I decide I'm going to learn to do something, I just bulldog it. I won't let go until I figure it out. And I know that this is a good bread machine because I have baked in it so many times. And there was a few times that I thought, you know what, maybe this KBS bread machine is just not any good for making banana bread. Maybe it makes great yeasted bread, but it just won't make banana bread. And I thought, well, that can't be so. And I would watch videos, and some of them I would watch over and over again, trying to figure out, are they really showing me what really happened? I mean, I couldn't figure out why my banana bread was not turning out. And I did all of this for you because I wanted to give you a good bread machine banana bread recipe that you could use and not waste food. It's a terrible thing to waste. I did a lot of research, and I made loaf after loaf. I made over 20 loaves of banana bread in the bread machine. Probably 25, probably closer to 25. And then I made one this morning just to make sure. I'm like, you know what? I want to make sure that this recipe is just foolproof and you can just make it anytime and it turns out great. So I did that for you because I want to bring you quality information and real information, something you can use. And like I said, these videos, you know, I'm not on here, well, I got a bread machine, I got a ripe banana, I'm going to make banana bread, and I've never done it before. That's not what this video is. I have tried this and tested this and made sure that if you follow these steps and listen to the whole video and take in all these tips, you can be successful in making banana bread in your bread machine. I don't know what kind of bread machine you have, but my goal was this. I tried using the bread machine to mix the banana bread. And then I tried mixing the banana bread separately. I tried partially mixing it separately and partially using the bread machine. And I have to tell you, I did not like any of the results when I mixed everything with the bread machine. And it's because of the way you need to put these ingredients together. And the bread machine is really made, that little paddle and the way it works in the pan, it's made for a yeasted dough, like a dough ball. And this is more of a batter, like a cake batter. And it just doesn't do that great. Yes, you can end up with a loaf of banana bread, but it's going to have some flaws. So I found the best way to do is mix everything together outside of the bread machine, then put it in the pan and bake it in the bread machine. Another one of my goals was that I wouldn't have to go back and turn the machine on. And a lot of the videos that I watched or the blogs that I read, they would always say, it might need 10 more minutes. It might need 20 more minutes. You're going to have to test it. It's hard to, some people said, I'm not even going to put a time because you just never know how long it's going to take. Well, my bread machine, the bake function, the maximum amount of time that it sets for is 1 hour and 10 minutes. So my goal was to make a loaf of banana bread that would be completely done in 1 hour and 10 minutes, and I wouldn't have to keep checking it and turning it back on. So once you get everything mixed together and put it in your machine on bake, it should be done when that 1 hour and 10 minutes is up. I made sure of that. And I didn't want my banana bread to be overbaked. If you have to keep turning it on to bake to get the center done, you're going to have a very dry outer crust. And it's going to be dry, you know, on the outside of the banana bread. And it's going to be very dark. I was troubleshooting, you know, the things that could happen with banana bread. They were saying change the size of the pan. I can't. It's a bread machine. The pan is only one pan and it is one size. So, you know, the longer, wider your pan is, then the less thick your banana bread is going to be, and that solves the problem of it not getting done in the middle. One person baked 3 little small pans instead of one pan, and that solved the problem of it not getting done in the center. But I only have this pan and I wanted this to work. The other things was to adjust the temperature of your oven. I can't do that either in my bread machine. Yours might, but mine doesn't. And I tested the temperature of my bread machine, and from what I could tell, it gets up to around 350. I can't change that. Some batters are very wet. I watched one lady make banana bread, and she showed the inside of her machine. She just mixed everything in the machine, and it was completely liquid, just soupy, just mixing around. And I'm like, I just do not know how in the world that gets done in your bread machine. Now, she did say at the end that she had to turn it on, I think, for like 20 more minutes. And even then, I don't know. She didn't show that loaf. It's like she didn't show it coming out. I'm going to show you what it looks like in the bread machine as we're baking all along the way, so you will know. Here we go. So the first thing we're going to do, I have here 2 frozen bananas. We need to thaw them. We don't want to put them in the bread frozen. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take and break them into little pieces here. Now I'm going to put this in the microwave to thaw it. Okay, so I thawed my frozen banana in the microwave. Now hopefully you can see all this liquid that is on this banana? We are going to drain that off. You do not want to add that to your banana bread, because you will have the problem of it falling in the middle and not getting completely done. So just drain it off. It's just basically water. Probably has all kinds of banana nutrients and such in it. Maybe you want to drink it, I don't know. But normally I just drain it off. And you may not get 100% of it. Now we're going to mash this banana with a fork. And mash it up kind of, you know, just kind of pureed. You don't want any big chunks. It is going to get mashed a little more when we mix everything together, so you don't have to be too meticulous. Now here is the next very important step. You only want 1 cup of frozen banana or ripe fresh banana. Especially with the frozen banana, I recommend erring on the side of a little bit less instead of a little bit more. And notice I'm scooping this out with a fork. That helps me to leave some of that extra liquid behind. The thing about any fruit or vegetable, when you freeze it, the cell wall of that fruit, in this case a banana, the cell wall is broken when the ice crystals form when the fruit or vegetable is freezing. Well, that causes all of the water that is held inside of the fruit to be released. Now I had 2 bananas, and you can't just for the bread machine anyway, because we are aiming for that perfect timing and perfect doneness. You only want 1 cup of bananas, and hopefully you can see my cup here is not completely full. Probably about 1/8 or so is not full, because too much banana holds moisture. Banana is moisture, so you don't want too much, because then your banana bread will be too wet. So you want 1 cup of mashed banana. Now I'm going to set this here, because before I add that, we are going to cream together our sugar and our butter. Now this is also a very important step. We're going to take, here I have a 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar. I packed it tightly in that cup. And I'm going to put my sugar here in this bowl. And then here I have 1 stick of butter, which is also equal to a 1/2 cup of butter. Now the butter is going to give this bread such a good flavor and make it so moist. And when I was using oil, my banana bread was just too dense, and it wasn't the right kind of moisture. And I tried shortening. That was better, but the butter was the best. And you just want 1 stick of room temperature butter. So what I did was I set this out last night and let it sit on my counter. Butter does not have to be refrigerated all the time, so don't worry about it going bad. It's not going to. Now, so I took the butter out of the pack, and now I'm going to take this wrapper and I'm just going to oil the bottom, not the sides, but the bottom and the stem of my bread pan, just to ensure that nothing sticks. Now I am going to cream together my butter and my sugar. You can do this in a stand mixer if you want to. I'm just going to do it with my hand mixer. I have even done it by hand. You could take a fork and do it, but I'm just going to use my little hand mixer, and I'm going to cream this together. Okay, so we have that creamed together. Next, we are going to add 1 room temperature egg. Now, a lot of the recipes called for 2 eggs, and I found that 2 eggs just gave me too much moisture and made my crust too brown. So I reduced it to 1 egg, and it works great. So just 1 egg. We're going to mix in our egg. So now we're going to mix this together. So that's what it should look like once you get your egg and your sugar and your butter all creamed together. Now we're going to add in our 1 cup of frozen banana that has had the water drained off and has been mashed and thawed. Okay, so now we have our banana mixed in. Here I have 1/3 of a cup of dry powdered milk. A lot of recipes call for a small amount of liquid milk, but my problem is I can't have too much liquid in my bread machine, or the bread is just not going to get done. But I want that richness and the protein that the milk gives to the bread, because it gives it strength and structure and flavor. So here I have 1/3 of a cup of dry powdered milk. Just going to add that in, and then we're going to mix that together. Here I have 1 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour. You don't want to use bread flour for this. You want to use an all-purpose flour. And here I have a 1/2 teaspoon of Himalayan pink salt. I have a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and I have 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And I am going to mix this into my flour. This is completely optional, but here I have a 1/2 tablespoon of pumpkin spice. Now, if you're not familiar with pumpkin spice, it does not taste like a pumpkin. Pumpkin spice is clove and ginger and cinnamon and allspice mixed together. And because it's a very popular spice to go in pumpkin bread, I like the way it tastes in this banana bread. You can leave it out. You can use any other kind of spice that you would like to use, but I'm using the pumpkin spice, and we're just going to add that to our flour mixture. I'm going to take a whisk, and I'm going to gently mix these ingredients together. And the reason I'm doing that is when I put my flour mixture with my wet ingredients, I don't want to do a lot of mixing. I want to do minimal amount of mixing once I get my flour mixture into my wet ingredients. And so there, I have those all mixed together. Now, I just realized I forgot to add my vanilla. I'm going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla to my wet mixture here. 1/2 teaspoon is all it takes. I'm going to take my mixer and mix that together. So I have all of my wet ingredients mixed together. And here I have all of my dry ingredients mixed together. Now, when you're using baking soda and baking powder to make a bread rise, time is your main focus, because once these dry ingredients hit those wet ingredients, a chemical reaction starts to take place, which is what makes the bread rise. And that's why I don't use the bread machine like the cake function to mix all of this together, because it will stir everything for 23 minutes. And after that, I tried that, and you end up with a very flat, dense loaf. It just mixes too long. So you don't want to do that. It's best to mix it by hand. And we're going to do very little mixing. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to add my flour mixture to my banana mixture. Using this spatula, I am going to gently mix everything together. Another thing we don't want to do is we don't want to form gluten. And gluten forms when you do a lot of stirring or kneading. So we are just going to gently mix this together until there is no floury dry spots in the dough. It's going to be a thick batter, but it's still a batter, but it's going to be kind of thick. But that's what we want. We want a kind of a thick batter. It is mixed up. There are no dry spots, and that's enough. That's all the mixing we want to do. Now we're going to put the batter into our bread machine pan. Sorry, not very graceful here. Just trying to do it at an angle that you could see. Get all of this off of see how thick it is? It sticks to my spatula. That's good. It means we don't have too much moisture. Now I'm going to take the spatula and I'm just going to spread it out evenly in the bottom of my pan. Now we are going to put it in the bread machine. I'll bring you down where you can see. Okay, so we're going to put our pan in the bread machine, lock it in. Now we want to go to menu number 14 here on the KBS. And the default is 10 minutes. I want it to go to 1 hour and 10 minutes, which is the max. And we're going to hit start. And just to tell you here on the KBS, when you hit start, it is not baking until you see that little light flash, the bake light. So you actually have to hit start twice. Now it says bake. Now it's very important that you do not open the lid of your bread machine, because it will change the temperature inside of the bread machine if you do, and then it could cause your bread to fall. But we can peek through the window, which we will do periodically as this bread is baking. Okay guys, I'm really hoping you can see this. I have my camera peeking through the window here on the bread machine. And can you see that little crack on top of the banana bread? That is perfect. Okay guys, our banana bread has just finished baking. The timer just went off. So we are going to remove the pan from the bread machine. Now we are going to leave this in the pan for a few minutes. Unlike when I'm baking sandwich bread, white bread, yeasted bread, I have to remove it from the pan immediately. But this banana bread, if you try to remove it immediately, what will happen is it might stick to the pan and it's going to tear your bread apart as it's coming out of the pan. So what I like to do is just let it sit here for 4 or 5 minutes and let everything just cool off just a little bit, because it is a very moist bread. And while it's doing that, I wanted to cover a few questions and give you a little more information about banana bread. So people often ask, can I freeze banana bread? Banana bread freezes exceptionally well. So you could bake it, wrap it up really good airtight and freeze it, and you could keep it 3 or 4 months in the freezer, and when you're ready to eat it, just take it out and let it thaw and you'll have delicious banana bread. Also, do I have to refrigerate banana bread? If you're not, I would say if you're not going to eat it in 1 or 2 days, then you're going to want to refrigerate it. And in that case, you want to make sure you seal it up in an airtight Ziploc bag or something like that so that it doesn't dry out. But if you're going to be eating it in a day or two, you probably don't need to refrigerate it. What kind of things can you add to banana bread? I want you to know the wonderful thing about this recipe is you can substitute the bananas for applesauce, pumpkin, pureed pumpkin, any zucchini, anything that you want to make this banana loaf like bread from. You can substitute the bananas. You know, if it's a wet, moist fruit, you can use the same amount, 1 cup, just barely a scant cup in this recipe. In addition to whatever fruit you're using to measure your 1 cup, you can also add things like raisins, walnuts, pecans, any kind of nut, any kind of dried fruit like cranberries, raisins, any of those dried fruits you can just add in addition to. You don't change anything else, you just add that in, and you add it in when you're mixing everything up. No special time to add it. Add it in with your dry ingredients. Oh, you can also add chocolate chips to banana bread or any of those other breads that you like to make. And as I told you when I was adding the spice, you can either leave that out or you can add any kind of spice that you want to add. Another interesting tip, if you need to ripen a banana quickly, you can place it in a paper bag and roll the bag down, let it sit overnight, and it will ripen a lot quicker. So, and I've done that, and that does work. Also, an interesting thing is the hallmark of banana bread is that you get a crack on the top, and this bread has a crack on the top. That's just the hallmark of good banana bread. When you get that crack across the top, then you know it's the right amount of moisture and it was baked the right amount of time. We are just about ready to take our banana bread out of the pan. Now, I always like to shake it a little, and you can tell if it's loose, and I can tell when I shake this, the bread is moving, so it is ready to come out of the pan. If it doesn't move at all, then you might want to let it sit for a few more minutes. So hopefully you can see that. And I'm just going to dump it out here on this wire rack. And then I'm going to turn it over on the top. Oh, it smells so banana-y. Oh, it smells so good. Look at this beautiful banana bread. It is beautiful. I am so excited. Okay, we can't cut it yet though. Here's another thing about banana bread. If I were to cut into this hot loaf of banana bread, it would ruin the inside. It would change the texture altogether. So what we have to do is we have to let this cool for like an hour. You want to cut your banana bread when it's cold. You don't want to cut it when it's warm. So we have to leave it sit here and let it cool. Finally, our bread is cool and we can cut into it and taste it. Oh yes. It smells so good. And it is so moist. It's not dried out around the edges. It's done in the center on the top. You can see that, how it's done. It's not doughy and gooey there. It's done all the way through. Oh, it just smells so good. Trying to decide which piece I want to eat. So, let's taste it. That is the best banana bread I ever had. I certainly hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. Leave me comments below. Try this recipe in your bread maker. Let me know how it turns out. I'll try to help troubleshoot. If I can get around to your comments, I'll do my best to help troubleshoot that. Thank you so much for watching. I enjoy spending time with you every time we spend time together. God bless. Bye-bye.